All right, this is 101, week 13, part 9. So Albert Ellis's main point, and this is the Stoic, and I'm talking about Albert Ellis because the guy mentions him at the bottom of page 4. And he invented cognitive behavioral therapy, which is something that I'm interested in. I read some books about it. So he has this point that, like, when you have a phobia, you're often like, if the thing I'm scared of ever happened, it would ruin my life and I'd lose my mind. But his point is that actually, you'd be fine. You don't know it. You think you'd be ruined, but actually, it's okay. Being humiliated for a little bit is okay. Having your heart hurt from being rejected, it's okay. And almost any phobia is like that. A lot of the things you're worried about, if they really happened, they would suck. But they wouldn't. Like, people think, if I lose my job, I'm going to be homeless and starve to death. Like, it would suck if you lost your job, but, like, you'd probably be fine. In the end, like, it would hurt, it would suck, you'd have a lot of fucking problems, but, like, it's probably not going to kill you the way you think it would, because a lot of times people's worries are bigger than what actually happens, right? And again, because what's the Stoics' point? The Stoics' point is that you think it's the outside world that's causing you these problems, but it's actually your beliefs about the outside world that's causing these problems, and that by changing your beliefs, you can change your mind. And the Stoics want you to change your beliefs by thinking negative thoughts. Think about some worst case scenarios. What is the absolute worst that could happen? Think about death. And then it'll keep your mind at peace because you realize, you know what, if these terrible, terrible things happened, maybe it would still be okay. This is the idea. All right, let's see, top of page 5. Wrapping this up. Back at the Museum of Failed Products, it isn't hard to imagine how another downside of the positive thinking culture, an aversion to confronting failure, people don't want to think about failure, might have been responsible for the existence of many of the products lining its shelves. Each one must have made it through a series of meetings at which nobody realized the product was doomed. Perhaps nobody wanted to contemplate the prospect of failure. Perhaps someone did, but didn't want to bring it up for discussion. Even if they realize where things are headed, there's a perverse incentive for marketers to plow more money into a lemon, meaning something that's worthless. That way, they can force some sales and preserve their dignity. By the time the truth becomes obvious, the original developers will have moved on to other products or other firms. Little energy will have been invested in discovering what went wrong. Everybody involved will have conspired, perhaps not realizing what they're doing, to never speak of it again. So he's saying that all this positive thinking, oh, it'll go great, it'll go great, it'll go great, is maybe that's what caused all these stupid, useless products like yogurt and shampoo and fortune cookies for dogs. Maybe that was caused by too much positive thinking. And it resulted in actually a lot of failure, where if somebody had just been like, yeah, I think this is a stupid idea, maybe the failure could have been avoided and people actually would have been happier if someone in the room had said, I actually don't think people are going to want to buy yogurt and shampoo. I don't think people want to have Coca-Cola for breakfast. I kind of do want to have Coca-Cola for breakfast. But right, that if somebody just had some negative thoughts in there, they could have stopped this product. And then maybe people would have been happier in their careers if they didn't sort of, base their house payments on whether or not Morning Cola was going to sell well. Okay, cool. We'll wrap it up. We're doing good. Another problem with our reluctance to see what he does here, another problem, right? You see, this is what I was talking about, is you give reasons and examples, right? So he's got his examples, he's got multiple examples, but he does reasons. He says one reason negative thinking works is this, another reason negative thinking works is that, a third reason negative thinking works is that, and then for each one of those, he's got examples. He's got the museum example, he's got the psychologist example, he's got another psychologist example. That's a totally good essay. All right. Another problem with our reluctance to think about or analyze failure, whether our own or other people's, is that it leads to an utterly distorted picture of the causes of success. Bookshops are filled with autobiographical volumes, such as the one released in 2006 by the multi-millionaire publisher Felix Dennis, entitled How to Get Rich, the distilled wisdom of one of Britain's wealthiest self-made entrepreneurs. It's an entertaining read, conveying a similar message to many of the others, that to make a fortune, what you need is stubbornness and a willingness to take risks. But research by the Oxford management theorist Jerker, that guy's name's Jerker? Okay, Jerker Denrell, suggests that these are just as likely to be characteristics of extremely unsuccessful people, too. It's just that the failures don't write books. You rarely see autobiographies of people who took risks and then things didn't work out. Right? So his point is that some guy will write a book and he'll say, you know what made me successful? I'm stubborn and I took risks. Well, And that's all you have to do to be successful. Well, no. It turns out that a lot of stubborn risk takers are failures. So the idea that this guy wrote a whole book and he was like, I was stubborn and took risks and that's how I became a millionaire, and if you're stubborn and you take risks, you can be a millionaire. And this guy's pointing out that no, lots of people take risks and are stubborn and fail. But they don't write books. There's not like a book next to that guy's book about how this guy wrote a whole book about how he's stubborn and took risks and failed. No. So the only book available is by a guy who is stubborn and took risks and was successful. And then you read that book and you're like, well, I guess all I have to do is be stubborn and take risks and I'll be successful, because the unsuccessful people, and that's most people, don't write books. So it gives you an unfair picture of the world that's not really helping. And this essay is pretty good. I like it, actually. All right. Fortunately, developing a healthier approach to failure may be easier than you'd think. The work of the Stanford University psychologist Carl Dweck suggests that our experiences of failure are influenced overwhelmingly by the beliefs we hold about the nature of talent and ability, and that we can, perhaps quite straightforwardly, nudge ourselves toward a better outlook. Each of us can be placed somewhere on a continuum, that's like a line, like on a dimmer switch. Like a continuum means, like, are you this kind of person or are you this kind of person? Derek argues, depending on our implicit view or unspoken attitude about what talent is and where it comes from. Those with a fixed theory assume the ability is innate, meaning they're born with it. Those with an incremental theory believe that it evolves through challenge and hard work. If you're the kind of person who strives mightily to avoid the experience of failure, it's likely that you reside near the fixed end of Dweck's continuum. Fixed theory people approach challenges and occasions on which they are called upon to demonstrate their innate abilities, and so they find failure especially horrifying. To them, it's a sign they tried to show how good they are but didn't measure up. The classic example is a young sports star encouraged to think of himself as a natural, but who then fails to put in sufficient practice to realize his potential? If talent is innate, meaning you're born with it, his unspoken reasoning goes, then why bother? So this is actually, again, I think it's a pretty useful idea to have in your head, the fixed theory versus the incremental theory of talent. So some people think talent is just something you're born with. Some people are good at math, and some people are bad at math. My students say this all the time. They're like, I'm bad at math. That's a fixed theory, meaning they think some people are born good at math and some people are born bad at math, and they're a person who was just born bad at math. The problem with that is that it means that when someone believes that, a lot of my students will come and be like, I'm not good at writing. What that means is they refuse to try, because they're just like, it doesn't matter what I do, I'm going to fail at this, and failure is the worst thing, and I don't want to fail, and this is such a huge waste of time, and I hate this class. Because they just figure they're the kind of person who's not good at writing. They think there are people who are good at writing, and there are people who are not good at writing, and they're bad at writing, and so it doesn't matter what they do. And as a result, they don't really try that hard because they assume ahead of time that they're going to fail. The other kind of student is the person who believes that that nobody's born good at writing, nobody's born good at math, nobody's born bad at writing, nobody's born bad at math. You go to school and you learn so that you can start off being bad at writing, and then you can take my class and get better at it. And maybe you fail a paper, but that's okay, because you get a chance to rewrite it and raise your grade. Maybe you fail another paper. That's okay, because you get a chance to rewrite it and improve your grade. And then at the end, it turns out, because you took my class, you're a better writer. These two theories have two different ideas about failure. If you believe that talent is born, then if you fail something, it proves that you were born bad at that thing. But if you believe that talent is something that can be learned, then if you fail something, that's just part of the process. That's how it works. People fail on their way to getting better. In the history of everything that worked, there was a time when it didn't work, right? Failure is part of it. If you've ever played a video game, I think I said this already. I played this video game called Celeste. And Celeste is this girl, and she's climbing a mountain. And the game records how many times you died. My character in that game died 6,000 times. But I beat the game. I got all the way to the top of the summit, and I got the 7th level. I got all the way up there. I even did the bonus level called the core, and I did it. Even though I died 6,000 times along the way. Now, some people, when they play a video game, they die and they're like, this is stupid, I'm not good at this, I'm not playing it. Okay, but I died 6,000 times, and I got to the top of that goddamn mountain in that video game, and it made me feel good. Because I got better at it, because I understand failure isn't the worst thing in the world. Failure doesn't prove I'm a bad person or I'm bad at video games. Failure is part of learning. Maybe that's true for school also. See you in the next video.